The quantum anomaly flared across Zixtal's monitoring screens like a supernova in miniature. At first, the senior xenanthropologist dismissed it as another primitive nuclear test from the isolated planet. Earth had a habit of conducting such experiments, each one catalogued and filed away in the Galactic Council's extensive database of emerging civilizations. But this was different. Secondary observer Meltox analyzed these readings, Zixtal commanded, their crystalline appendages shifting colors from calm azure to concerned violet. The data streams painted an impossible picture. Someone on Earth had accidentally brushed against the fabric of quantum reality itself. In a modest laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lieutenant Jessica Mitchell stood frozen before her quantum entanglement array. The cups of cold coffee scattered across her workstation testified to the countless hours she'd poured into this project. Her colleagues had called her theories impossible, her methods unorthodox. Now, the swirling vortex of perfectly entangled particles above her experimental platform proved them all wrong. "Dr. Thompson," she called out, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You need to see this." The particles danced in patterns that defied classical physics, creating microscopic bridges across spacetime itself. Above Earth's atmosphere, Zixtal's observation vessel hummed with increased activity. The ship's biological circuits pulsed with data as the crew struggled to process what they were witnessing. Humanity had just achieved in 3 centuries what took most species 50 millennia of guided development. "Impossible," muttered Meltox, their sensory fronds twitching in agitation. "The development timeline suggests they shouldn't achieve quantum manipulation for at least another 1,000 years. Their industrial civilization is barely 3 centuries old." Zixtal moved closer to the observation screen, watching as Lieutenant Mitchell and her team worked to stabilize their groundbreaking discovery. The humans showed no sign of realizing they'd just triggered every advanced monitoring system in their sector of the galaxy. They simply continued their work, making adjustments with a casual efficiency that bordered on terrifying. "Send an immediate report to the Council," Zixtal ordered, their crystalline form now pulsing with urgent crimson hues. "Classification update required. Previous assessment of Earth as a standard development path species needs revision." In the laboratory, Dr. Robert Thompson burst through the door, his silver hair disheveled and his eyes wide behind thick-rimmed glasses. "Jessica, the readings from the orbital satellites are going crazy. Whatever you've done, it's affecting quantum fields across the entire region." Lieutenant Mitchell's fingers flew across her holographic interface, making minute adjustments to the containment field. "It's stable, sir. We've achieved perfect quantum cohesion across a macroscopic field." "Do you realize what this means?" "It means," Dr. Thompson said slowly, "that everything we thought we knew about quantum mechanics just got rewritten by a 32-year-old lieutenant who refused to accept conventional wisdom." In orbit, Zixtal received the Council's response. The message was brief but unprecedented. "Immediate close observation authorized. Classification priority elevated to maximum. Caution advised. Species demonstrates extreme deviation from standard development patterns." "Meltox," Zixtal called out, their color shifting to the deep blue of focused concentration. "Begin full spectrum analysis. I want to know everything about their quantum physics development. How did they progress from primitive steam engines to quantum manipulation in mere centuries?" The observation screens showed Lieutenant Mitchell and her team celebrating, utterly unaware that their breakthrough had just placed humanity under the galaxy's equivalent of a microscope. In their joy, they couldn't know that across the vast expanse of space, ancient civilizations were hastily rewriting their first contact protocols. As Zixtal watched the humans work, a disturbing thought formed in their crystalline consciousness. What else might this young species achieve if left to develop at their current pace? The question sent ripples of concerned amber through their form. Sometimes, the most dangerous discoveries weren't weapons or technology, but species that refused to follow the rules of proper development. "Update the warning buoys in this sector," Zixtal commanded. New classification. Approach with extreme caution. Accelerated development path species. Note: standard predictions unreliable. The observation chamber aboard the Galactic Council's ship pulsed with a symphony of worried colors as Zixtal reviewed the latest data streams. The images before them showed Dr. James Anderson's laboratory at the Berkeley National Research Center, where swarms of microscopic nanobots were systematically destroying cancer cells in a test sample. Remarkable precision. Zixtal noted, their crystalline form shifting through shades of analytical blue. They've developed medical nanotechnology without even achieving unified planetary governance. The next screen showed a very different scene. At the White Sands Missile Range, Colonel Michael Anderson, James's twin brother, supervised the testing of a new electromagnetic defense system. The identical faces of the Anderson brothers represented everything that puzzled the alien observers about humanity. Brilliant healing technology in one hand, sophisticated weapons in the other. Senior observer, Mel Tox called out, their sensory fronds vibrating with concern. You need to see their entertainment broadcasts. The screen shifted to show various science fiction programs. Zixtal's color rippled with alarm as they watched humans act out countless scenarios of alien contact, some peaceful, others disturbing in their accuracy. They're preparing, Zixtal realized, not through their military or their science programs, but through their imagination. In Berkeley, Dr. James Anderson adjusted his microscope's settings, unaware of the invisible observers above. Look at this, Dr. Reynolds, he called to his colleague. The nanobots are adapting their behavior based on the cancer cell's mutations. They're learning. Sarah Reynolds leaned in, her dark eyes widening. James, these readings suggest they're not just learning. They're anticipating future mutations. How is that possible? I based their programming on human immune system responses, James explained, unable to contain his excitement. Instead of rigid protocols, they improvise, adapt, work together, just like we do. Meanwhile, at White Sands, Colonel Michael Anderson watched as his latest defensive system neutralized incoming projectiles with pinpoint accuracy. The system doesn't just track current trajectories, he explained to General Williams. It predicts possible changes in flight paths and prepares countermeasures before they're needed. Like your brother's nanobots? The general asked, raising an eyebrow. Michael smiled. Great minds think alike, though he probably disapproved of this application. Above Earth, Zixtal struggled to categorize what they were witnessing. The same principles of adaptation and prediction appeared in everything humans created, whether for healing or defense. It violated every principle of supervised species development. Their information networks are even more concerning, Meltox reported. They openly share critical research data alongside what they call cat videos. Their most sophisticated scientific discussions occur on platforms designed for social interaction. It's chaos. Zixtal watched as a livestream showed Dr. James Anderson explaining his nanobot research to the public, taking questions from viewers ranging from Nobel laureates to curious teenagers. In the comments, a high school student pointed out a potential application that made even Zixtal's crystalline structure flicker with surprise. They crowdsourced their innovation, Zixtal observed. Every human, regardless of status, can contribute ideas. The chaos. It's not a flaw in their system. It's the source of their strength. The screen showed Colonel Anderson's team simultaneously publishing their defensive research in scientific journals, while classified versions were secured in military databases. The humans somehow maintained transparency and secrecy in perfect balance. Update the observation protocols, Zixtal commanded. Traditional classification methods are insufficient. We're not observing a normal evolutionary path. We're witnessing something entirely new. As if to emphasize this point, Dr. James Anderson's nanobots suddenly demonstrated an unexpected behavior, working together to form larger, more complex structures. At the same moment, his brother's defense system autonomously developed a new response pattern that hadn't been programmed. Fascinating, both brothers said simultaneously, separated by hundreds of miles but united in their enthusiasm for the unknown. Zixtal's color shifted to the deep purple of profound realization. They don't just create technology, they announce to their crew. They create technology that shares their own traits. Adaptable, unpredictable, constantly evolving. This isn't just scientific advancement. This is a species encoding its very nature into everything it builds. Junior observer Krelax couldn't look away from the holographic displays showing Dr. Emily Walker's zero-gravity crystallization experiments aboard the International Space Station. The human scientist moved with practiced ease in the weightless environment, her movements precise as she manipulated the experimental chamber's controls. "Impossible," Krelax whispered, their luminescent form pulsing with excitement. They're replicating quantum-stabilized crystal growth without even knowing the underlying principles. The young alien observer had spent 3 solar cycles studying Dr. Walker's work, fascinated by how humans could achieve such results through what they called intuitive leaps. On the ISS, Dr. Walker adjusted her latest experiment's parameters. The crystal structure forming in the containment field showed properties that defied conventional physics. "Houston, are you seeing these readings?" she asked, her voice steady despite her excitement. "The lattice structure is self-organizing in a pattern we've never observed before." Mission Control crackled to life. "We're receiving the data, Dr. Walker. Frankly, we're not sure what we're looking at." Krelax leaned closer to the observation screen, forgetting the strict protocols about maintaining safe distance from human installations. Their ship's cloaking field flickered for just a millisecond, but it was enough. In the ISS's observation module, warning lights suddenly flashed. "Houston, we're picking up an anomalous energy signature approximately 100 meters from the station," Dr. Walker reported, already moving to secure her experiments. "It's like nothing we've seen before." Admiral David Thompson was enjoying his first cup of coffee in the Pentagon when the alert came through. Within minutes, he stood in the command center, watching as space agencies worldwide tracked the mysterious disturbance near the ISS. "What do we know?" he asked, his voice calm but authoritative. "Sir, the energy signature suggests some form of advanced cloaking technology," Lieutenant Commander Rebecca Hayes reported. Dr. Walker's experiments might have inadvertently detected it because of their unique quantum properties. On the observation vessel, Zixtal arrived to find Krelax frozen in panic. "Explain," the senior observer demanded, their crystalline form flashing dangerous shades of red. I was observing their crystal growth experiments," Krelax stammered. "The human scientist, she's achieving results that should be impossible at their technology level. I needed a closer look." Before Zixtal could respond, the humans did something unexpected. Instead of panicking or taking aggressive action, they began broadcasting a series of carefully structured mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the Fibonacci sequence, and basic quantum equations. "This is Dr. Emily Walker aboard the International Space Station." The broadcast began in multiple frequencies and formats. "To our unidentified visitors, we acknowledge your presence and welcome peaceful contact." Admiral Thompson watched the situation unfold from the Pentagon. "Coordinate with all major powers," he ordered. "Implement First Contact Protocol Delta." Teams worldwide began securing data networks, preparing communication channels, and mobilizing scientific teams, all while maintaining a deliberately non-threatening posture. Dr. Walker continued her broadcast from the ISS. "Your cloaking technology is impressive, but the quantum interference pattern with our experiments suggests you use a crystal-based system. If so, we'd love to compare notes." Zixtal's color shifted to stunned white. "They've not only detected us, but have already begun analyzing our technology." "Sir," Krelax ventured, "their response seems to be a mixture of military readiness and scientific curiosity. Every human nation is mobilizing resources, but they're focusing on communication and research rather than weapons." The observation screens showed military vessels moving into defensive positions worldwide, even as scientific institutions began publishing their first contact protocols openly online. Civilian astronomers started sharing data, and social media exploded with a mixture of excitement and surprisingly accurate technical discussions. They're not just ready for us, Zixtal realized. They've been waiting. Every science fiction story, every space program, every breakthrough, it was all preparation for this moment. As if confirming this, Dr. Walker's voice came through again. We've been looking up at the stars and imagining this moment for generations. Now that you're here, we have so many questions to ask, and so much to share. Please, let's talk. The accidental reveal had disrupted centuries of careful observation protocols. But as Zixtal watched humans worldwide coordinate their response with remarkable efficiency and openness, they realized that perhaps this was exactly how first contact with Earth was meant to happen. Not according to carefully laid plans, but through humanity's unique blend of curiosity, preparation, and adaptability. Lieutenant Kate Rodriguez hadn't slept in 36 hours, but her dark eyes sparkled with intensity as she stared at her multi-screen setup at the National Security Agency. Streams of alien data cascaded across her displays, patterns emerging from what others saw as chaos. "Got you," she whispered, her fingers flying across her haptic keyboard. The crystalline language structure of the alien communications began resolving itself into recognizable patterns. What should have taken years of dedicated computational analysis was unraveling in days, thanks to her unconventional approach. "Director Matthews," she called out, her voice carrying across the buzzing command center. "I've cracked their basic communication protocols. They're using crystalline quantum states as language markers. It's like they're speaking in light." The emergency response team from the Galactic Council arrived to find their worst fears confirmed. Not only had humans detected them, but they were already beginning to understand alien technology at an alarming rate. "Impossible," declared High Counselor Vex Thor, their crystalline form pulsing with agitation. "Their quantum computers shouldn't be advanced enough to decode our protocols." "They're not using quantum computers," Zixtal reported, displaying Lieutenant Rodriguez's workspace. "They're using neural networks, social media analysis, and something they call crowdsourcing. Look." The screen showed thousands of humans worldwide collaborating through various platforms. A physics professor in Mumbai had posted theories about crystal-based computing that came dangerously close to actual Galactic Council technology. A teenage YouTuber in Seattle had inadvertently created a viral video explaining alien mathematics through dance moves, somehow making the complex concepts accessible to millions. "This isn't just technological adaptation," Zixtal observed. "They're processing this culturally, socially, turning first contact into a global collaborative effort." At MIT, Professor Marcus Chen watched in amazement as his quantum mechanics students applied video game logic to alien technology problems. "It's like they've been preparing for this their whole lives," he muttered, watching simulations run on the classroom's holographic display. Meanwhile, in her NSA office, Lieutenant Rodriguez made another breakthrough. "The alien language isn't just communication," she explained to Director Matthews. "It's alive, evolving. Each crystal pattern carries emotional resonance. They don't just speak, they feel in colors." Social media platforms exploded with amateur linguists and programmers creating translation apps. A Reddit thread about alien crystal technology spawned a worldwide citizen science project. Twitter users began spreading alien language patterns through memes, accidentally stumbling upon cultural insights that shocked the Galactic Council observers. "They're not just learning our language," Mel Talks reported nervously. "They're playing with it, remixing it, creating new expressions we never conceived. Look at this human communication platform called TikTok." The council watched in horror as teenagers worldwide created dance moves that perfectly mimicked crystal-based emotional expressions. Quantum physics professors were collaborating with art students, combining scientific understanding with creative interpretation. "This is unprecedented," High Counselor Vexthor declared. "No species has ever approached first contact this way. Their chaos should be their weakness. Instead, it's becoming their strength." In her lab at Berkeley, Dr. Sarah Marshall successfully replicated a simple alien crystal circuit. "The key was thinking differently," she explained to her colleagues. "We were trying to understand their technology through our scientific framework. Once we started looking at it as a form of art, the patterns became clear." The Galactic Council's emergency session was interrupted by an unexpected transmission. Lieutenant Rodriguez had figured out how to communicate directly through crystal resonance. Her message was simple but sent shockwaves through the council. "Thank you for the lessons in light speech. We hope you don't mind that we've started adding our own dialects. Humanity is ready to talk. All of us, not just our leaders. We bring many voices, many perspectives, many ways of understanding. We look forward to learning from you, and perhaps teaching you something new as well." Zixtal's color shifted to the deep blue of profound realization. "We came to study them, to guide their development according to our protocols. Instead, they're teaching us that there might be more than one path to the stars." The screen showed humanity's collective intelligence at work. Scientists and artists, professionals and amateurs, all contributing to a new understanding of the universe. In mere days, they had begun to grasp concepts that took other species centuries to master, not through superior technology, but through their unique ability to combine logic and intuition, science and creativity, individual brilliance and collective wisdom. Ambassador William Hayes adjusted his tie as he entered the newly constructed First Contact Center in Geneva. The building itself represented humanity's approach to diplomacy, a mixture of classical architecture and cutting-edge technology, with walls that could shift from opaque to transparent based on the crystalline aliens' comfort levels. "Remember," Dr. Elizabeth Morgan, the chief synapsychologist, whispered as they approached the conference room, "their species processes emotions through color variations, and they're still trying to understand why we smile." Hayes grinned. "Then let's give them something to analyze." He entered the room carrying not just diplomatic briefings, but a tablet loaded with what he called his cultural survival kit. The Galactic Council delegation, led by High Counselor Vexthor, pulsed with formal purple hues as they arranged themselves around the quantum-stabilized conference table. Their crystalline forms scattered rainbow patterns across the walls, an unintentional light show that made Hayes think of disco balls. "We begin this historic negotiation," Vexthor announced, "with the traditional recitation of the Galactic Council's 5,000 primary protocols for emerging civilizations." Hayes raised his hand, his warm smile never wavering. "With respect, High Counselor, perhaps we could start with something more fundamental to understanding each other." He pulled up a video on the room's holographic display. The alien delegation watched, their colors shifting rapidly, as a series of cat videos played out before them. "These small Earth predators," Hayes explained, "represent something unique about humanity. We've taken creatures that could have remained mere hunters and formed deep emotional bonds with them. They make us laugh, comfort us when we're sad, and remind us not to take ourselves too seriously." "This is most irregular," Vexthor protested, though Hayes noticed their crystalline structure flickering with curious blue sparkles. "Irregular is what we do best," Dr. Morgan added. "Ambassador Hayes brings up these videos not just for entertainment, but to demonstrate a key point about humanity. We find strength in what other species might consider illogical." The next hour progressed unlike any diplomatic meeting in Galactic Council history. Hayes mixed serious discussion of technological exchange protocols with Earth memes. He explained humanity's political structure through references to historical comedies. When tension rose over military limitations, he diffused it by sharing videos of children teaching adults how to use new technology. "Your species' approach defies all diplomatic standards," declared Council Member Zixtal, their form shifting between confused yellow and intrigued green. "Yet you're all still here," Hayes pointed out. And unless I'm misreading crystal color patterns, some of you are actually enjoying yourselves. The breakthrough came during a discussion of cultural exchange programs. Hayes presented a proposal for allowing humans to visit alien worlds, illustrated with clips from science fiction shows. We've been imagining this moment for centuries, he explained. All these stories, they weren't just entertainment. They were practice. Practice for what? Vexthor asked, their crystalline surface rippling with curiosity. For meeting you, Dr. Morgan answered. For understanding that different doesn't mean wrong. That logic and emotion aren't opponents but partners. That diplomacy can include both serious discussion and cat videos. As if on cue, Hayes' tablet chimed. Speaking of partnerships, he said, pulling up a new video. This just went viral. Someone remixed first contact footage with their cat's reaction to meeting their roommate's new crystal growing kit. The alien delegation watched in stunned silence as the video played, showing a cat cautiously pawing at growing crystals, while the actual first contact footage played alongside it. The parallel was both hilarious and oddly profound. You've turned one of the most significant moments in galactic history into entertainment. Vexthor's color shifted rapidly between shock and something that might have been amusement. We turned it into something relatable, Hayes corrected. Something that helps people process this massive change in their understanding of the universe. And look at the comments. People are actually having sophisticated discussions about crystal-based life forms between the jokes. Dr. Morgan smiled as she watched the aliens' colors shift toward understanding. This is how humanity builds bridges, she explained. We use humor to overcome fear, storytelling to grasp new concepts, and creativity to solve problems. We're not just making light of serious matters, we're making them accessible. High Counselor Draxel's announcement hit the Galactic Council chamber like a quantum shockwave. Earth must be contained, they declared, their crystalline form pulsing with harsh red determination. Their unpredictability poses too great a risk to galactic stability. The Council's emergency session had barely begun when Major Sarah Reynolds strode into the Pentagon's command center, her boots clicking against the polished floor. Sir, she addressed Admiral Thompson, we've detected energy signatures consistent with quantum barrier technology forming at the edge of our solar system. Already on it, the Admiral replied, nodding toward the holographic display where hundreds of small dots represented Earth's newly launched quantum probe network. Looks like some of our friends up there didn't appreciate yesterday's diplomatic cat videos. In Nevada's hidden research facilities, Dr. Marcus Henderson's team had been preparing for this possibility since they first reverse-engineered the alien ship's heat signature patterns. Initialize the butterfly protocol, he ordered, his voice steady as his fingers danced across the quantum interface. Across Earth's surface, seemingly dormant satellites suddenly activated, their systems reconfiguring based on the knowledge gleaned from weeks of studying alien technology. But these weren't weapons. They were something far more interesting. What are they doing? Draxel demanded, watching the energy readings with increasing alarm. The humans weren't attacking the containment field. They were somehow integrating with it, their technology adapting to merge with the alien systems. Sir, a junior council member reported, their color shifting to confused yellow. The humans are improving our containment field. They're using our own technology to enhance its stability while simultaneously creating passages through it. Major Reynolds couldn't help but smile as she watched the data streams. Remember those failed attempts at quantum tunneling last week? Turns out they weren't failures at all. We were mapping the mathematical structure of their barrier technology. In Geneva, Ambassador Hayes calmly sipped his coffee as he addressed the council through the quantum communication link. Interesting attempt at containment, Counselor Draxel. Our scientists found at least 7 different ways to bypass it, but they were more intrigued by how to improve it. Would you like to see their suggestions? The council chamber erupted in chaotic color patterns as Dr. Henderson's team began transmitting their analysis. The humans hadn't just understood the containment technology. They'd optimized it, found its flaws, and developed applications the council had never considered. This is precisely why they must be contained, Draxel insisted, their form flickering with agitation. No species should be able to adapt this quickly. With respect, Counselor, Hayes countered, you're missing the point. We're not trying to break your containment. We're showing you how it could work better. Humanity doesn't just overcome obstacles. We study them, improve them, and often end up thanking those who placed them in our way for the learning opportunity. Major Reynolds' voice came through the quantum link. Our satellites are now fully integrated with your barrier network. We've increased its efficiency by 47% while reducing its energy consumption by a third. Consider it our gift, a demonstration of how cooperation beats containment every time. The Council watched in stunned silence as their own systems confirmed the humans' improvements. Earth's technology now functioned in perfect harmony with the containment field, transforming it from a barrier into a regulated transportation network. Don't think of it as losing control, Hayes suggested, noting the Council's shifting colors. Think of it as gaining perspective. You tried to contain water, only to discover it knows how to flow, adapt, and make its own path. Why not work with that natural tendency instead of against it? Dr. Henderson's voice joined the conversation. The quantum barrier technology you developed is brilliant. But like everything else in the universe, it's not about perfection. It's about adaptation. We didn't break your containment. We evolved with it. The Council chamber's colors slowly shifted from alarmed reds to thoughtful blues as the implications sank in. Humanity had taken what was meant to be their prison and transformed it into a gateway, not through force or defiance, but through understanding and innovation. Perhaps, Zixtal ventured, their form shimmering with newfound insight, we should reconsider our approach. The humans have proven that attempting to contain them only leads to unexpected evolution. They don't just think outside the box, they redesign it, improve it, and turn it into something entirely new. Professor Thomas Bradley paced the lecture hall at Oxford University, his weathered hands gesturing at the holographic display, showing human brain activity alongside crystalline alien thought patterns. The Galactic Council observers sat in the back, their forms shimmering with intense focus. The key isn't in our technology, Bradley explained, his voice carrying the weight of decades of research. It's in our contradictions. Our consciousness exists in a perpetual state of quantum superposition. We simultaneously believe and doubt, fear and hope, create and destroy. Zixtal's form pulsed with revelation as they watched neural patterns dance across the display. Their minds don't just process information, they reported to the Council. They transform it. Each human thought carries the potential for infinite variations. In the adjacent laboratory, Dr. Rachel Martinez demonstrated the practical applications. Watch what happens when we expose human consciousness to alien crystal computing, she said, connecting a neural interface to a quantum crystal array. The crystals flared with unprecedented patterns, creating configurations that made the alien observers flicker with astonishment. They're not just using the technology, Meltox observed. They're dreaming through it. Exactly, Martinez smiled. We don't just adapt to new ideas, we reimagine them. Every human mind is a laboratory for possibility. At the Pentagon, General Williams reviewed the latest simulation data with his alien counterparts. Your species approaches problems through perfect logic, he explained. We approach them through what we call intuitive leaps. Sometimes we're wrong, but when we're right, you achieve in moments what should take centuries of calculated progress, completed Council member Vexthor, their crystalline surface rippling with understanding. Professor Bradley's presentation reached its crescendo. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence. It's our capacity for cognitive dissonance. We can hold completely contradictory ideas in our minds, and instead of breaking, we create something new from the conflict. The evidence was undeniable. Screens showed humans worldwide interfacing with alien technology in ways its creators never imagined. Artists were using quantum crystals to create new forms of expression. Children were intuitively grasping concepts that had taken other species generations to formulate. "Look at this," Dr. Martins pointed to a neural scan. "When we encounter a problem, our minds don't just search for solutions. They imagine new possibilities. We don't just think outside the box. We question why the box exists at all." In Washington, Ambassador Hayes hosted a virtual reality conference where humans and aliens experienced each other's consciousness patterns. "Our chaotic nature isn't a bug," he explained as minds merged across species barriers. "It's our most essential feature." The council watched in amazement as human consciousness patterns rippled through their quantum networks, creating new pathways, new possibilities. "They're not just participating in the galaxy," Zixtol realized. "They're reimagining it." Professor Bradley's final slides show the evolution of human thought throughout history. Every time we've faced limitation, we've transformed it into opportunity. Every time we've encountered the impossible, we've dreamed up new definitions of possible. In laboratories worldwide, human scientists weren't just learning alien technology. They were reinventing it. In universities, students weren't just studying galactic knowledge. They were questioning it, challenging it, rebuilding it. "Your species," Zixtol addressed the gathered human leaders, their form shimmering with complex emotions, "doesn't just adapt. You transform. Every obstacle we've placed before you has become a stepping stone to something we never imagined." Dr. Martinez nodded. "That's because we never see obstacles as endpoints. In our stories, our dreams, our science, we've always known that limits are just invitations to imagine beyond them." As the council processed this understanding, they watched humans worldwide continuing to merge imagination with innovation, chaos with order, doubt with certainty. Each contradiction didn't weaken their species, it strengthened them, pushed them to evolve, to dream, to become more than they were. "Perhaps," Zixtol concluded, their color shifting to deep, thoughtful blue, "we've been asking the wrong question. It's not about whether humanity is ready for the galaxy. It's about whether the galaxy is ready for humanity's way of dreaming itself into new forms of existence." The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled with the crystalline forms of representatives from 1,000 worlds. Ambassador William Hayes stood at the center, his simple human form somehow commanding more attention than all the glittering alien delegates combined. In conclusion, he addressed the assembly. "Earth doesn't request mere membership in your council. We propose something unprecedented: the establishment of the Interspecies Innovation Center, headquartered on Earth." The chamber erupted in a kaleidoscope of emotional colors. High Counselor Vexthor's form pulsed with cautionary amber. "You ask us to trust our most advanced research to a world that barely mastered spaceflight." Dr. Elizabeth Morgan stepped forward, her quantum translator converting her words into crystalline resonances. "We ask you to trust precisely because we're young. Our barely mastered technology merged with your containment field and improved it. Imagine what we could accomplish together, without barriers." The holographic displays activated, showing Earth's proposed innovation center. The design itself demonstrated humanity's approach, a structure that combined organic and crystalline architecture, where laboratories merged with art studios, and meditation chambers existed alongside quantum computation centers. "Your species is unpredictable," Council member Draxel observed, their color shifting between concern and curiosity. "Exactly," Hayes smiled. "And that's exactly what the galaxy needs. We've studied your historical records. The Galactic Council has achieved remarkable stability, but stability without innovation becomes stagnation." Professor Thomas Bradley's voice joined through a quantum link, accompanied by real-time displays of human-alien collaborative projects. "In just months, we've demonstrated how human chaos theory applies to crystal computing. Our artists are creating new forms of quantum expression. Our children are playing games that accidentally solve complex astronomical calculations." The chamber's colors shifted as the evidence mounted. Screens showed human scientists working alongside alien researchers, each bringing unique perspectives to age-old problems. Earth's quantum internet had already begun integrating with galactic networks in ways that enhanced both systems. "We don't wish to disrupt your order," Hayes continued, noting the concerned colors among some delegates. "We wish to complement it. You've mastered the science of stability. We've mastered the art of constructive chaos." Dr. Morgan activated another display, showing the successful fusion of human neural patterns with crystal matrix computing. Every species here represents a unique way of understanding the universe. Humanity's gift isn't superior technology or intelligence. It's our ability to connect seemingly unconnected things, to find patterns in chaos, to dream beyond established limits. The Council watched as human innovations spread through the galaxy's networks, not as invasive changes but as creative additions. Earth's memes had already begun influencing alien cultural exchanges. Human music, interpreted through crystal resonance, created new forms of artistic expression. Your species, Zixtal addressed Hayes, their form shimmering with newfound wisdom, has achieved something remarkable. You've shown us that our careful protocols, while valuable, were also limiting us. You've taught us that true progress requires both structure and spontaneity. The question was never whether we would contain humanity, High Counselor Vexthor announced, their color shifting to decisive blue. The question was whether we would recognize them as something new in our galaxy, a species that turns limitations into launching pads for innovation. The final protocol appeared on the chamber screens, a new classification unlike any before. Earth Classification, Unique Adaptive Entity. Warning: standard predictions will fail. Approach with an open mind and expect the impossible. They will teach you more about yourself than you could ever learn about them. Recommended action: learn, adapt, grow. Note: they will surprise you. This is not a bug. It's their most essential feature. Ambassador Hayes read the classification with a smile. We accept this designation with one addition. He pressed a button on his quantum pad, and a final line appeared. P.S. Yes, we'll keep sharing cat videos. Sometimes the simplest things teach the most profound lessons. The chamber filled with crystalline laughter, a sound never heard before in the formal council chambers. As Hayes watched the delegates' colors shift through joy and anticipation, he realized that humanity had achieved something greater than mere acceptance. They had reminded an ancient galaxy how to wonder, how to dream, and how to laugh at itself. The age of rigid protocols was ending. The era of infinite possibility was just beginning.